guys, it's Shay. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about nursing, beauty, and lifestyle weekly. If any of you guys are new, I'm Shay. I'm a registered nurse who is currently working in bedside nursing as well as a PRN home care job on the side, and I do videos like this weekly, including my life as an NP student. Today, we are going to continue with this journey we are going through with managing bedside burnout, and I told you guys I would come back with a video explaining to you, what if you can't manage bedside burnout? What if you're ready for a change? Does it mean nursing is not for you? Of course not. It means you got options, and that's the beauty of this nursing profession. So I'm not going to hold you guys any further or longer. Change in the background is just due to I wanted to show you guys some of this beautiful sunlight, and I think we're going to jump right into 10 jobs of nursing besides bedside. Let's go. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have a long list of things here. A lot of this information was collected from colleagues, friends, family, and then just a little bit of research I did on the side. Of course, if you are interested in any of these professions, make sure you take time to do your own research. Find out if you have resources around you that are familiar with these jobs, and if any of you would like to reach out to me, I can see if some of my sources are able to provide you with some information. So we're going to cut straight to the chase. If you guys see me looking down, it's just to make sure I'm giving you the right information. A lot of this video is going to be telling you about what you can combine with nursing to make some of these professions. So let's start off a little bit easier and get right into simple things like dialysis nurse and surgery centers. So basically, these are environments where you're not necessarily at the bedside, but you're still providing patient care. So I mean, it's very a gray line when you say bedside, but you're not dealing with that hustle and bustle in the hospital. And here's some of the differences of why it's different in hospital nursing. So for one, surgery centers and dialysis centers most of the time have a pretty scheduled set. 8 to 4, 7 to 3, 6 to 2. Some work 8-hour shifts, some work 12-hour shifts, some work, longer than that. But majority is 8 hours. Some are open on the weekends or some are not, but your schedule will probably change if you're moving from that 12-hour shift to the outside surgery center or dialysis center. You get to see repetition and, of course, activities, dialysis over and over again, surgery centers, the same procedures over and over again. But one of the things that stood out to me the most when I thought about this job is you don't have to worry about what I like to call too many cooks in the kitchen. So me and my preceptor this semester talked a lot about this. You're in the hospital, and guys, when you're in the hospital, you have a patient that has a problem, but that don't mean that there's no problems with any other system in their body. So you might have somebody admitted for a heart issue, but it's something with their kidneys, it's something with their stomach, they have anemia, you name it, they got it. And I always talk about the fact that, in the hospital, I think professionals need to communicate better. You as the nurse, you get to see all the orders, so you kind of get to see the background lens of what's going on, and you're the advocate for your patient. So you'll have someone put in this order, then you'll have someone put in that order, then you'll have someone discontinue someone else's order and put this in, and you're like, hold on, can we all get on the same page? I don't feel like you have to worry about that a lot in surgery centers and, dialysis centers. You see the same doctors. You see the same colleagues. You see the same people there that are, setting the orders, placing the orders. They know these patients. For the most part, I know surgery centers can get a little gray with that. But in general, you're dealing with the same people, and you're not dealing with multiple people throwing tons of tasks and tons of interventions, and you trying to figure out which one goes where, and should I be doing this, and does this deactivate this, and all this other stuff. Okay, guys. So we're going to go to a lighter note real quick and talk about informatics. So basically, I like to coin informatics as bringing technology and nursing together to provide safe patient care, efficient patient care, and also to make it efficient and safe for the people who are providing the care. So you guys know about an EMR or electronic medical record. Informatics has a lot to do with what is on the electronic medical record and how we're able to input information and, chart assessments and things like that. Now, these people need people who used to be nurses, because guess what? We need to make sure that the way we are allowing our staff to chart and access the electronic medical record is practical. I could be someone who got a degree in informatics or information technology, but I'm putting stuff in the computer that's not efficient for the nurse, that's not time relevant for the nurse, and is not beneficial to safety and protocol. So that's where you need the nurses to say, hey, this is great, include this in the EMR. This is not so great, take that out. This takes too long for somebody to chart. Make this easier to click. Why is this 20 clicks? Why can't we do it in 5 clicks, but still make sure it's CYA covering your behind? So that is why nurses are important to informatics. While we're talking about informatics, I'm going to bring up another kind of information technology sort of profession. So utilization review is one of the things that I really had to sit down and talk to someone about because I didn't understand it particularly myself. I know it's a great profession for nurses. I know they need nurses in utilization review, and I know I hear a lot of people talking about how great it is, but I don't really figure out what is actually their job role or what they do. So basically I sat down and talked to one of my friends who's been doing this for about 7 years, and she basically explained that it's literally like anytime you have a job title, literally just look at what the words say, utilization review. So it's looking at how the job or the hospital utilizes their resources and is reviewing it to make sure that it's efficient, it's patient safe, it's also a patient, it's a reason for them doing it, but it's also going to follow in lines with our policies to get reimbursement. So, example, like, okay, this is what the doctor did, this is what the doctor ordered, okay, it's correct, but we're not going to be reimbursed for this because it didn't follow this protocol. So this is what these people are used for. Basically, they're taking a look at the chart, they're taking a look at patient activities, patient interventions, and they're making sure what we're doing follows in line with like our Medicaid, Medicare services, reimbursement, hospital policy, things like that. So if this is something you're interested, I encourage you to do a lot of information check on it because I'm just providing the brief synopsis. Most of the time, they require nurses to have 5 to 7 years of experience to do this because, guys, it requires a lot of critical thinking. How am I going to be one to question if the utilization of a service is proper if I've only been a nurse for a year? Now, there is cases where like I said, my friend, she only had 3 years of nursing background, but she was able to achieve this job. So I'm never telling you you can't do it, but make sure you do your research and make sure you're ready for what the role entails. So long story short, I'm also going to read to you guys the definition I had down here just so it can make more sense. So basically when I talked to her, it says reviewing care, cost and delivery of services, transitions of services, and making sure that treatment meets criteria for reimbursement. So that's kind of how she simplified it for me. Okay, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's switch gears and get into something a little lighter. School nursing. If you like kids, if you have kids, I think this will be the perfect opportunity for people. One, think about the schedule of a school nurse. Your kids go to school 8 to 4, school nurse goes to school 8 to 4. You are, meeting those hours, but still able to provide care to your kids and they get out of school, etc. Holidays, weekends, off most of the time unless you're picking up for any different reason. A lot of school nurses told me they do get summers off, and this is their time to either pick up PRN jobs. They also can do contracts like teachers where their pay in the year goes according to, to cover them over the summer and different things like that. So it's just a great opportunity. I feel like, you still are the captain of your ship. I mean, you're following school and board policy to make sure you're providing efficient care for students. You're doing care management of a lot of things like diabetes, type 1, especially with kids, asthma, definitely, and just you're really, providing services that are a little bit in lines with community care, while at the same time you're focused on just basic nursing too, physicals, things like that. And you're able to, I always say, I feel like school nurses are able to, even though they have that policy, you guys know how policy and all the logistics with that in the hospital get sticky. I feel like you kind of have your own, like it's your office, you run things the way you want to. You still make sure they're aligned with policy and they're aligned with the school board and people are up to date with their immunization records and all that fun stuff. But you're able to kind of captain your own ship and move the way you want to move while still providing care to these kids. Next thing we're going to talk about is a legal nurse consultant. This is another one of those positions where I had to actually look up and then try to see if I knew any friends who followed along this path that could give me information. And the easiest way I can explain it to you guys, is bringing legals or law into combination with nursing, putting it together. So when people have like, you know, medical cases and things like that, they need someone that has a medical background. They need someone that knows what is like, you know, what medicine do you give for this, and how are you supposed to give the medicine, and is it supposed to be IV push or IV drip, and they need someone who knows this medical background. So who more better to choose than a nurse who works at the bedside or worked at the bedside or worked with patients and knows the protocols. I do know sometimes people have to do a little class to kind of get that certification for it. There's information about that online. It's not like a graduate course or anything. It's just a certification basically, and it basically certifies that you are able to bring legals and nursing together and make sure you're working for the best benefit of the case that you are involved in. And a lot of people who do legal nurse consultants work on their own. Like, they're not like associated with like a law firm or things like that. A lot of people will find you on the internet, say, hey, can you do this? It might even be a law firm, say, hey, we just need a nurse on board. So a lot of them are like privately consulted. You're not actually like in the business with all the logistics, but it's still a great experience. So while we're talking about legals and we're talking about bringing legals with nursing and things like that, another great opportunity for nurses that I have heard a lot of my friends, family, different, you know, associates talk about is insurance company and, you know, pharmaceutical nursing. So basically with some of these jobs, of course, I always tell you guys, look at the exact definition of what you're going to be doing. Make sure you understand the role. But majority of these insurance companies use nurses for, you know, prior authorizations. So for example, when I used to work in the pharmacy, there'd be certain medicines we will push through someone's insurance and it says it needs a prior authorization. And that basically just means it needs you to call and talk to someone and explain to them what is the medical necessity for that drug, and is there other options, and why can't the patient have the other options that are in America cheaper compared to what their doctor or the provider is writing for. And that's where nurses come into play. So they can sit and say, hey, you know what? Yeah, you said this person's allergic to this, and this. They do need this. Approved. Hey, why haven't we tried this first? Let's try this first, and then we can talk about this medicine later. Denied. So it also is good that you have a nurse in that view, because nurses are supposed to be patient advocates, patient care. So sometimes nurses will even be up with these insurance companies like, yo, I don't know why y'all not covering this, because it's needed. Now, that's not the only situation it would apply, and that's not the only thing you're going to be doing. I just use that as a lackadaisical kind of example, but basically they are also kind of bringing you in for your medical knowledge so you can assist with the things that they are taking care of. Insurance companies are management, time, and money savers. So they need someone with medical knowledge to make sure that what they're doing is actually adequate. Okay, guys, we are winding down. We only got a couple more to go. The next profession I am going to talk about is clinical manager. And the moment a lot of you guys hear clinical manager, the first thing you're going to say is, Shay, that's bedside. It don't always have to be bedside. Clinical management can go from hospital, can go from long-term care centers, can go to home care, can go to, you know, group homes and things like that. It might still involve that patient care piece, like I said, with the surgery center and like the dialysis center, but you are not literally physically providing bedside care every single shift you work. One thing I can definitely tell you is a lot of people think, since I said we're talking about education, that you need to have a graduate degree for this. You don't. RNs, LPNs can be clinical managers. Yeah, I said it. RNs and LPNs. I've seen both. I have people that I talk to that are in these roles. So basically a clinical manager, you guys know what it is. Bringing administrative, you guys know I like my bringing administrative with nursing and putting it together. So you're administrating, you're overseeing staff, you're making sure work policy is being met by the staff. You're educating the staff on proper work policy, administrative things, but also making sure they're providing the clinical care that they're supposed to. So you're just bringing these jobs together, and you're literally doing what it says. You have a clinical background, but you're also taking over and you are providing management to a certain facility, group, etc. We also want to talk about the educator, guys. So a lot of people, like I said before, think that educator just, means you go get your master's and then, you have to teach. That's not the only thing with educators. Let me give you guys some examples. One, you don't need a master's degree to even teach. Community colleges, junior colleges, and some universities will take you with just a bachelor's degree. So you can roll up in there as a bachelor's degree nurse and start teaching. And that is facts. I have a lot of people, I've also had teachers myself that have been baccalaureate prepared. That's the word, right? Baccalaureate prepared nurses who are teaching. You do have to have some experience. They do look for some clinical experience, but in general, yes, you can. Now, if you do want to take that master's degree route, let's talk about some options. First thing, I talked about clinical manager before. You can do that. Second thing, there are certain hospitals and certain facilities that literally hire people who are known as educators. They put them in place to teach people in the hospital about different clinical things and also just different things that are basic to nursing. So like, the people who teach all the new nurses their first week of orientation, that is an educator. When we get new supplies and new interventions, these educators learn it and then they go out to these units and they show other people. So it's not just, teaching like in a professional role. It's also clinical teaching. If you're someone who likes to learn new things, if you're very kinetic, or is that the word kinetic? I can't think of words today. If you're someone who's very kinetic and you're like good with like learning new IV pumps, things like that, you would be perfect for this. And it's another way that I can express that just because you're going to master's or just because you're going to graduate school does not mean you have to be a nurse practitioner. Yes, that's my route, but no, it's not the only route. And I advocate for this all day. I don't know why I'm so excited in this video today, y'all. I just love talking about this and letting people know that you don't have to be restricted. And that's one of the reasons why I picked nursing personally, because I knew when I was ready to move, I could just move and it didn't have to be a big like career change. And change is good, but you're always going to be a registered nurse. You just switch up your roles, do something new, put another few notches on your belt and keep rolling. So that's why I think I'm so passionate about this. So let's talk about our last options. So case management is another one of those roles where I'm telling you, you're bringing stuff together. So social services or social determinants of healthcare and nursing together. And I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, you can just apply for a case manager as when you have your social work degree, when you have your psychology degree and things like that. But let me tell y'all why they like nurse case managers. So nurse case managers are able not only to know the logistics of social services and insurances and authorizations and things like that, but they're also able to know the clinical background. So what facility is able to take these IV drips? What medication would be the best option for this patient? And not only are they communicating with the outside, but they're also communicating with your docs. They're also communicating with your floor nurses and saying, yo, we got to do this, this, and this to get this patient on the right route. We got to do this, this, and this to make sure when we transition their care, they're not back in the hospital. Because y'all know there's something called 30-day readmissions. And our facilities do not get covered for those. So part of the majority of reason why we like nurse case managers is because they make sure the transition of care from hospital or inpatient to outpatient is so successful that these people do not have to come back in and we don't get our money cut for those 30-day readmissions. So that is a role where they definitely look for nurses. If you're definitely into, advocating and making sure you're providing social services while using your clinical background, I think that will be a great option for you. All right, guys. So the last thing we're going to talk about that I kept for last, because I know you can find tons of videos on my channel about this, so we're not going to spend that long, is home care. Now, with home care, y'all, it is very pretty much literally what it says. You're providing care for patients at home. You are still a registered nurse. You're still a licensed practitioner nurse. Whatever your role is, you're still in it, but you're taking it from that inpatient setting and bringing it outpatient to a patient's home. Now, let's talk about some of the options you have with home care, because I've been hearing a lot of people say, you know what, I don't like home care because you have to go to 5 million homes. You got to do this, you got to do that. That's not the only home care. So what that is talking about is there's certain home care agencies and home care criteria where you will see X amount of patients a day, 10 to 12, maybe spend 5 I was gonna say 5 hours. Maybe spend about 30 minutes to an hour with each patient, whether it's intake, whether it's assessment, whether it's actually providing care like wound care, IV hydration or IV medication administration, medication administration in general, because some people just need someone to come at home and make sure they take their meds. So there's those nurses. Then there is another type of home care nursing where you're actually provided with a patient assignment that is inclusive to one patient, and you provide all their patient care. Now, one thing I will tell nurses about this too is when you have those, you're going to be fulfilling all roles. So if you are providing care for a patient for 6, 8, 12 hours, you're going to be helping with toileting, you're going to be helping with med administration, you're going to be helping with interventions. You might be doing a little bit of some different roles, but you're providing care for that patient throughout their shift, and that is your only patient for that shift, and you sign off and then you come back to them the next day. So that is another option. I know some people get iffy, you know, going in and out of people's homes. If you find that 1, 2, or 3 solid patients where you provide that 8, 6, 12-hour care, you're getting used to that home environment and you won't have to, you know, kind of shuffle around. But some people like shuffling around. So these are definitely options. You can go into pediatric home care. You can go into adult home care. You can go into adult gero home care. And then there's also privately owned home care institutions or groups. Check around your area and see what's available. But those are definitely some great options. And I will try to include some of my videos on home care here for you guys to look into. Alright guys, if you rocked with me for this long, I want to thank you so much for your support. As you guys can see, there is tons of options. You don't have to be stuck at the bedside for life. And like I always tell people, bedside nursing will always be there. Hospitals will always be here. If you want to jump out and get your feet wet in something else, go ahead. Just go out and do it, and don't be afraid of change. A lot of people like they're scared. They're like, maybe I'm not supposed to be a nurse, or maybe I'm not supposed to do nursing. No, if you graduated nursing school and you made it this far, you're meant to be a nurse. You just might not be in the environment you need at this current time, and that's why there are so many opportunities and so many options for nursing, because you can switch it up so easily. And then if you want to go back to bedside, or if you miss it for a little bit, jump back in, because you know they're looking for you. So thank you guys so much for tuning into my channel. If you like this, make sure you give me a thumbs up. Comment down below, do any of you guys fulfill these jobs outside bedside? Did I give not enough information? Include what information you can down below, because I know people are going to be looking for it. I want to thank you guys again for watching. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment, and I will see you in my next upload.